My name is McCare, and I'm going to be talking to you today about my project Postwar Perspectives, how students worldwide learn about the dropping of the atomic bombs. So this project started based off a conversation between my best friend May, who lives in Texas, and me, who lives in Washington but now lives in Texas. And we talk a lot about the differences in our public education and how our state public education systems taught us U.S. history. And one day we talked about world history instead, and we wondered how other people learned about the dropping of the atomic bomb, because we feel like they probably had really different interpretations of that event. So we decided to go looking and see what we could find, and immediately we found a 2015 article and Reddit thread called How the Hiroshima Bombing is Taught Around the World. The article was written based off a Reddit thread that asked that question, and over 2,000 people replied. This was a super cool source of information, and I really wanted to do something with it for one of my projects, and it just happened to coincide with our remix chapter. Based off of the introduction for hacking and remix in the book Networked, the appropriation, imitation, reuse, and recombination of significant styles, materials, and artifacts that pervade almost all cultural epochs in the creation of something new is the description of remix. So the parts of this description that really fit my project are the recombination of materials and artifacts. I'm recombining some of those responses into a new platform where they can be used so that people can have a more global perspective of a truly global event. Usually we learn about history from just the side that won, or just the side that we currently listen to, like we listen to the U.S. side because that's where we live. So I wanted to kind of remix the way that we learn about this event. So I already had some of the information assembled, but I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to present this. Based off some research I did, I think this quote is really fitting for why I chose to print the book. And it says, distractions abound online, costing time and interfering with the concentration needed to think about what you read. So this is a pretty heavy subject, and I felt like people really needed to be able to digest it in order to make informed conclusions. And so I wanted to give people the option to not be distracted by the internet and read this book physically if they were able to, but I also put it up online later. So when I put it together, first I put down the title of each country and then the Reddit thread response that correlated with it. I realized that wasn't a lot. So I started putting more than one on a slide, and then I decided I wanted to organize them from an in-depth look at the U.S. teachings, and then organized based off of distance from Japan, all the way to a more in-depth look at Japanese teachings. So I looked up the miles, and then I also looked up what they were doing in World War II to give some added context, and I made a color code to help people understand immediately who was an ally, Axis, if they've been invaded, etc., other things that are relevant to maybe why they have the views that they have in these countries. I also put this key up for reading the book so that people would understand what they were looking at, and this legend to war involvement, like I mentioned in the color code a moment ago. I also, in my revisions, was told that I had a lot of text and not a lot of pictures, so I decided to bind my book on the long edge and kind of have every single backside of the pages have this mosaic on it. It's a mosaic of the bomb made out of the destruction, and the closer you get to Japan, the more visible the destruction is. This is what the book looks like in its printed form. I'm really happy with it. I did a clear cover on the front and back. I had it printed, bound, and cut at Office Depot. And then I also put it online. XDing pointed out that that would be kind of a poetic way to bring it back to the crowdsourced platforms that originally birthed it. However, our history doesn't like image posts, and they didn't really like my link post either, so I'm still working on ways to get back to them. But I did put it up on Imgur, and it's got 13 views over the last couple days. And I also put it up on Tumblr and sent it out to some of my friends to see if they could maybe spread it further, since I know some of them are more active on Reddit. But that's my project. I learned a lot about World War II history, and I think it was a really insightful thing, and I hope that all of you enjoy it.